Investment shark Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful, used to be among the loudest critics of cryptocurrency.
Sounds such a scam. Like, that's just totally BS. And I'm not going to take real money and put it into this thing. It's never going to happen.
Since then, O'Leary's views have changed dramatically, and now he's managing a highly diversified crypto portfolio.
I am a huge advocate for Bitcoin. I treat it as an asset, no different than a AAA office tower in Boston. In individual tokens and coins and chains, I've got 33 different positions.
What is Mr. Wonderful's current investment thesis on crypto? And what are the hottest projects he is betting on? Find out in another exclusive Cointelegraph interview. So for a long time, you were a vocal skeptic of crypto, but then you changed your mind about it, and now you're an advocate. So what was the turning point that made you change your mind about cryptocurrency?
The regulator. What I started to see, I have many investments in financial services industries. Many of them are regulated already because they're issuing indexes and securities and whatever else. I cannot afford to be non-compliant. That's not possible for me. Everything I do has to be compliant by the regulator, otherwise it causes chaos in my business. Businesses, I have multiple investments. And so there was a period where the regulator was extremely proactive and not constructive on cryptocurrencies, and it was a very difficult time with the SEC and the other regulators in the U.S. So during that period, yes, I was a skeptic because I didn't anticipate anything that would change my mind if the regulator didn't. And then all of a sudden things started to change. I invest globally, so I'm very aware of what's going on in Switzerland, France, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the Nordic countries. The regulators there started to open up, and I have investments in those countries, and in Canada, for example, so where the regulator allowed for ETFs that held the underlying being Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when I started to see that happening on a global basis, I started to allocate towards crypto and have not stopped since then. So when facts change, I change also. I'm not so rigorous that I don't have flexibility, and that's exactly what happened. And so now I'm extremely active. I have a staking desk. I work, very closely with companies like FTX and Circle. I'm an investor in FTX. I'm a paid spokesperson for them. I'm very active on the platforms. So, and I thought this year, here we are towards the end of 2021, I anticipated at the beginning of the year I was a 3% weighting in the operating company in cryptocurrencies as a basket. Today I'm over 10%. And a combination of increasing my position in staking and also the capital appreciation of these assets over the last year. So to say that I'm involved in crypto today is an understatement. It's a very large portion of what we do.
Okay, cool. And if you had to point at a specific moment that made you change your mind, so you talked about the regulators and the change of attitude that the regulators had, but did that happen gradually, or there was a particular moment in time where you thought, okay, this is the time I can get in?
The moment was when the Canadian regulator approved the first Bitcoin ETF. Everybody knows that the Canadian regulators are conservative and they don't make moves without talking to their global counterparts. For them to do this meant that they'd already had some kind of dialogue with other regulators in other jurisdictions and decided those were the rules for the Canadian ETF. That was the moment.
Okay, cool. So what is your current investment thesis on crypto? If you had to broadly describe what is your investment thesis on the crypto industry right now?
I look at crypto not as coins or tokens. I look at it all as software. It's productivity software. The projects that are going to last and be here, a decade away from now are ones that actually solve problems. So let's give an example. I'm an investor in Polygon. Why? Because I had a chance. I'm a very fortunate guy. I'm able to call up the leaders of these projects and these teams, and they return my call, and I asked to meet them anywhere in the world. In this case, we met in Dubai with the Polygon team. I'm an investor in software engineers. I always have been. I've been in the software industry for 20 years. they're very, very strong. And their mandate, what they decided to do, is to try and reduce the cost by sitting on top of Ethereum and aggregating transactions. So the gas fees are a fraction of what they would be if you're doing them one at a time. I thought that was a brilliant strategy, and I made an investment in Polygon. The same with Solana, the same with Ethereum, the same with HBAR. All of these are software. If you're investing in, for example, in Google or in Microsoft, what are you investing in? You're investing in software. Why wouldn't you invest in crypto? It's software too. And the regulator is in my view, going to eventually support these initiatives because of the tremendous economic enhancement and productivity they provide for the underlying economy.
So, talking about specifically your portfolio in crypto, can you give us a bit of an overview? If you can give us some details about your portfolio construction.
In individual tokens and coins and chains, I've got 33 different positions, wide range of diversity. I look at this the same way I look at managing an equity portfolio. Never more than 5% in any one name, never more than 20% in any one sector. So in that theory, that mandate means that I can go up to 20% in crypto. Right now I'm just over 10, about 10.7. But I've also made equity bets. For example, I have an investment in WonderFi, a Canadian company that is democratizing DeFi. So they're launching their product in January. They've been working on it for over 2 years. One of the biggest challenges for the individual, like my daughter or my son who want to do staking and remain compliant with tax authorities depending on what jurisdiction they're in, is it's very complicated to actually do it. If you have $14,000 in your bank account and you decide that you'd like to stake some of it, WonderFi is working very hard to make that very easy to do. And that's one of my investments because I think cryptocurrencies are not just for the crypto elite. There's a huge demand within the population to solve for the fact that interest rates are so low. So just on staking alone, that's a huge opportunity. I'm a big believer that NFTs, which are basically digital wallets of information, are going to be very big in the physical asset world. One specifically that I'm part of the advanced thinking on, if you want to call it that, I'm funding a white paper on it right now, is for the watch industry. The watch industry, as you may know, is one of the fastest growing asset classes in the world right now, multi-billion-dollar secondary market in trading fine timepieces. And we don't have any NFTs for authentication and insurance purposes. We want that, and so does the watch industry. So the idea would be, if you take a high-resolution scan of the dial, you can identify that watch in perpetuity, and you could avoid fraudulent trading of a piece that was made to knock it off, and that's of great interest to all the great watchmakers. Just my collection alone I want to do that on. So the whole point is there's so much activity on NFTs, and yes, I'm an investor there.
Yeah, that's fascinating because you mentioned so many different projects and so many different coins, but your attention seems not to be too much focused on Bitcoin at the moment. So I'm curious to know, what is your view on Bitcoin? Has your view on Bitcoin changed since you became a crypto advocate, and how?
Yes, I have a position in Bitcoin. It is not my largest. It is close. It's up in the top quartile, though. Ethereum is larger than Bitcoin right now for me. I am a huge advocate for Bitcoin. I treat it as an asset, no different than a AAA office tower in Boston. It's an asset. I don't consider it a currency. Now, everybody has their own opinion. My opinion is it's an asset. So I hold it. I don't trade it. I do stake it. But the point is, I'm not selling my Bitcoin. The challenge I have with Bitcoin, and the whole industry has this challenge, is we've got to deal with these ESG issues. There's a lot of criticism around Bitcoin because of the amount of energy it takes to get a coin awarded. And in that area, I'm working very hard. There's lots of initiatives to create Bitcoin. And I'm not saying we're bifurcating the Bitcoin market, that one coin's different than the other. But if I'm a sovereign institution, and I work with lots of sovereign institutions, because I'm in the indexing business, they would like to fund Bitcoin mining where they keep their own awarded coins, knowing with 100% certainty that they mine them in an ethical and efficient, sustainable manner. And that is where a lot of the new capital is going. Now, whether that be wind or solar or nuclear or whatever, all of those projects are happening globally, and they're being funded by sovereign wealth because sovereign wealth has ESG and sustainability committees on top of their asset decision making. So the next generation of coins awarded are probably going to be held in perpetuity on balance sheets of companies that are funded to make them sustainable.